This episode is brought to you by Hurriali, serving nourishing treats for the mind, body, and soul. If you haven't heard the recent podcast, give it a listen. Learn the story of how they built Hurriali Gardens. It's a great story, and I did not know half of it. It's definitely our spot before or after a surf for a fresh juice, strong coffee, or fire a breakfast burrito. And my new favorite is their healthy take on a banh mi. Hurriali Gardens, 401 Hugie Street, or their new location, Hurriali Riverland in James Island at 2016 Wapu Drive.
Marshwear. Clothing inspired by the need for versatility and style. Those wave chasing, flats pulling, field loving, campfire gatherers. For the doers, adventurers, and unconventional. For those who live by the highs and lows of the tides. For those in pursuit of good times.
Brian, are we rolling? Cool. So we'll just have like a goofy intro to start it off. So thanks for coming and doing this. You were actually one of our most requested guests. I think I texted you that, but...
Yeah, which came totally by the surprise, because when I got a text from you, thanks for having me, I was just like, yeah, I think it should be some other people here before me. And then you told me that, I was like, yeah, it's part of it. I'm pretty honored about it, but I was shocked in the same way, for sure.
Yeah, we really got to know each other from working out with Ryan the past couple of years. Yeah,
that's definitely been good for, I think, everybody who goes to Ryan. It's good camaraderie, and it's good for the body.
Yeah, I think the first time we worked out, I think he was like, we were going to do legs or something, and you like went and picked up like a 50-pound kettlebell, and I just went to follow you, and he's like, dude, you got to pick up a 5-pound. And I was like, oh, damn, okay, this is how it's going. But yeah, let's dive into it. So how did you land in Charleston?
Yeah, that was definitely tricky. Like, I had a friend of mine who lived here. I think I started coming to Charleston was like 97. And I came visit him, and I was like, man, this actually looks some kind of like Europe. Like, the building looks normal, and like everything has actually old. Because I'm used to, like, you go to the city and it will be old. And then I visit Charlotte, and it's like the oldest building was 60 years old or something like that. It's no history, no soul. And then I actually find out, like, oh, it's the ocean there, and like people surf. So I came here like probably 5-6 times just to hang out for the weekend, visit him, because I used to live at Greenville and Charlotte. And then I like got to Folly, and like I saw like people surfing and stuff, and you know, like my introduction to surfing was like probably the kookiest way how you possibly can start, because like back home, like I moved to the US, I was 20. The closest to surfing, like I used to skate and snowboard. I had a chance to go pretty good semi-pro snowboarding, but then a couple of my friends broke their backs in the half pipe, and I was kind of like, wow, like that was when people start going upside down and doing like, because I grew up like doing the Sean Palmer era and things like that, like, you know, people just doing massive cars and method airs and grabs and stuff. But then when everything started going upside down and stuff, people start getting hurt more. And somehow I had a chance to come to US. So
where are you originally from?
I'm from Czech Republic originally. Yeah. So like the communism ended there 89, and till I was 15 years old, I grew up in communism, which wasn't bad. And then, you know, everything started changing. So when I started coming here and I saw people at Folly surfing, I was like, man, I knew I always wanted to do it. Because like, I saw Point Break when I was like 15, like, yeah. And I was snowboarding and all that. So I was like, yeah, one day I will be a surfer. And I saw that. So I ended up going to North Charleston. I think it was either Play It Again Sport or one of these stores there. And they had a surfboard there, like with Tasmanian Devil on the bottom. Like I think it was like 5'4" or 5'6". I was like, oh, that's mine. Like, so I bought it. I bought a spring suit. I know it's like June or July. And like, I rolled up that fall. I put my spring suit on in July. I went in the water. And then I look in, like nobody wears spring suit. I was like, and like I'm flopping there like a seal on it. Like couldn't even, it's 5'4" or 5'7". Like had absolutely no clue. But I was still like super hooked, so got rid of that board. And then, after coming here a while, I was like, man, I'm just gonna move here. So because my buddy was like, dude, just move here. We can be roommates or whatever. And so when I moved here, we live in North Charleston. It was like right by the Old Navy Hospital. It was like straight up in the hood. I think it was only 2 white apartments in the whole complex. It was affordable. We didn't know any better. We all have cars, so we always drove either downtown or something. Then I got a construction job here. And from then it was just like everything started going better and better.
How quick was your learning curve with surfing? Did you figure it out like in a summer, or how was that?
Yeah, I pretty much, I think I stood up and rode a little bit after like second trip to Fale, and then when I got bigger board, I actually got a board at Ocean. It was like 7-8 or 8 footer. It was like very weird board, like looked kind of like a longboard, but had these spoon pockets across the whole bottom, like were not dinks. It was like shaped.
Oh yeah.
I guess it's supposed to give you more lift or control, whatever. Back in the day, Bill and Betty Sue was owning that place at that time, so I got that, and from then it was pretty on point. And then, after when we moved from North Charleston, we moved to Mount Pleasant and started knowing more people and things like that. Things got significantly better. And then I met my other friend, Josh, who moved from Houston, Texas. And he was doing repairs for Charleston Water Sport a little bit, and he was surfing too. So we hung out and do things. And after like 6 months, Josh needed a place to live. I was like, oh, just come live with me and my buddy Radek, so we start all 3 living together, and then, we hanging out, partying, going surfing, and one day, Josh was like, man, we should open a surf shop. And I was like, man, that would be cool. Yeah. Obviously thinking like if we have a surf shop, we will surf more and do things more, which is exact opposite. Yeah. I think I didn't surf for like a year and a half for the first time when we opened the shop. Yeah. So that's kind of how it all got and started, it's and I started meeting more and more people, and just
And that first shop was Pure Vita?
We took over Pure Vita. So I think Pure Vita was owned by 2 guys, and then one went to Coast Guard and stuff, and I think the people they had a lease on it somehow was related to Dave Dixon, and he opened a shop there and ran it and built this huge half pipe. Everybody was hanging out, and at that time we were living at the old village, so we were hanging out there too, and it was a cool spot. And then it all went south, so after that we kind of took it over, but it wasn't related to Pure Vita, but it was the same location. But we were there only for like a year.
So did y'all run it as Pure Vita for about a year?
No,
and then
we run it as a Parrot from day one.
Day one as Parrot, cool.
Dave Dixon ran it as a Pure Vita for a while, I think. And I think that was like 2000.
Okay, how'd you come up with that name?
So like we were sitting down and with Josh, and like I didn't want to have another like big wave or Point Break. Like I was like, I want a name like it's different. Mm-hmm. And like Josh was like, dude, let's name it Parrot, and we can have a live bird there, and like and like I always find parrots are like super cool, and like they have their own personalities, and it's like, yeah, why not name it Parrot? It's different, it's like and at that time, like a lot of the shops were always named somebody with surfing, so we went with the Parrot, so it's totally different. And I think we opened at 2000. That was definitely the whole experience was like amazing eye opener. Like you cannot be at that time, like I was 25. We couldn't be more naive doing things like that. But you're young, so you got all that power. You feel like you're indestructible, and we did all the build outs ourselves and everything. And so I saved up decent amount of the money. I was doing construction and working a lot, 6-7 days a week. And the deal was with Josh, like, hey, I come up with most of the money. You will be kind of running it and work your way to your portion, and I will still do construction and work there on the weekends, so you have some day offs. And and I thought we save up money and we go to Surf Expo and we approach the companies and purchase stuff from them. It's how it should work, Right. But no, that's not how it works. At that time it was no internet, no social media, nothing. So pretty much people have monopoly on things. So every company at the expo we went to, they're just peace, really? Reach out to us a year and a half later and things like that. Forget about it. Any major company like O'Neill, Billabong, Rip Curl, anybody's we want to see if you make it for a year and a half, at least. It's make it with what? Right. So we did TNC Clothing, SMP, all these brands. The small brands, counterculture was big at that time, and I was dude, we will make it. It's and then year went by, and we have a disagreement with the landlord and stuff because they give us really good deal on the first year and stuff, and then they tripled it. I was no, so we moved to the Wild Wing Shopping Center and did all that, and I approached all the companies again, went to another Surf Expo, and everybody's throwing rocks again at us. It's man, it's just not easy. And I was you know what? It's got to be another way. And I was and I knew I'm going to piss a lot of people off in the industry by doing it, but I went to TJ Maxx or Marshalls, and I think I bought about $2,000 worth of surf product. Wow. Two full shopping carts. And it was I had Rusty, I had O'Neill, I had Billabong in there, and I put it all on the clearance rack. We only mark it up $2 or $5, nothing crazy. You buy in there for $9 or $7. The shops were still selling it for $17.99, $18. We didn't even go close to MSRP. We just mark it up a little bit and create this giant sale rack in the part of our shop. And I just sent the picture to all the reps.
Yeah.
And they were so butthurt. Oh my God, it was, and it wasn't emails at that time. At that time, everything is done on the phone call and things emails were, but not as common, and it was oh my God, what are you doing? It's what do you mean? You can go and buy it. Yeah. You guys the one who sold these to these discount stores. Right. So either you control your access or, I'm not price gouging, I'm not doing anything, but and after about a year and a half, I think Dave Shotton came in and opened me with O'Neill, and he goes if I open you up, you will have everybody in no time. Right. It takes one big brand to come, but in that year and a half or 2 year of time, at that time, Tim McKevlin had 2 stores, one on La Palms, one there, so he pretty much conquered all that. It wasn't that many shops in the town. Right. It was, Berry Island just closed down, so was only Ocean and McKevlin's, and what was the shop name right here on the road for a while? The Boardroom, yeah. Yeah. Peyton and Drew Pringle and that opened it up, and Peyton and Jay worked there, and things like that. And that was kind of about that for this side, and on my side was only Charleston Water Sport and Liquid Motion at that time. Mm-hmm. And so I was why we cannot get stuff, and and Charleston slowly was growing, so it's and everybody kind of was Half Moon start getting into it at the same time. They started doing a lot of the kiting and bringing a lot of brands in, so it was a tough time. But when I got O'Neill, I got Billabong immediately right after. I think Wes Lane was either getting let go from his rep job or decide not to be a rep or whatever. So before I guess you get bonuses or whatever if you open up the accounts or write up some orders. So before he quit, he immediately opened me with Billabong. So And
that was like your foot in the door, or
with O'Neill was the foot in the door, but then Billabong came, and then Hurley wanted to come, and all that, and from that point we finally started having like some decent brands, and my old goal was always deal with kids. I always wanted to be young shops, so like Charleston Watersport, really, I wasn't even looking at it as a competitor, because Kurt had it set up for more like a middle-aged or in my eyes, older guys.
Right.
And I didn't want that. Like, I wanted to have a kids. I wanted to have the raddest kids on
you were like
the surfboard and skateboard. But they couldn't be a punks. Like, I always had a rule. You cannot be I don't know if I can say that word. Like you couldn't be a fuck up. Like, you have to be good person also. Like, because, like, doesn't matter you shred, but like if you not representing me well, it doesn't do me any good. So the standards were very high in it, but like slowly, we start building the team, and I wouldn't really call it a team. I just wanted
I
to
felt like you had a culture.
Yeah, I wanted to have the cool guy, not the cool guys, like the guys they surf, and I wanted the shop for be like kind of like a part-time like home for them or whatever. Like, it wasn't I think the teams and all that started more like down the line when other shops start, and I think having a team was like in the certain era was a must. Like every shop or every boutique almost wanted to have a surf team for whatever reason, and like people are doing tryouts and weird stuff like that. I was like, that was never the rule in Parrot. Like, I always, like, we were not headhunting, and like towards the end of the era, we did approach few kids, but before then, people would just come and be like, hey, I want to be part of Parrot. I want to ride,
Right.
And it was at that time where people wasn't really expecting much. Like, after like 10, 15 years, everything switched. Like, team riders will like almost demand like, oh, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that. Like, no, like when Peyton come in and all the other guys, Cuff and Kai and all these kids, like they wasn't expecting much. They got discounts and all that stuff, and if we got freebies from reps, it got passed down. But nobody was expecting. Everything was like super grassroots. Everything was very done on the humble basis. Nobody was greedy. Yeah, that's a right word. So, and then we started, building the team. And in the old shop, we had this wall right by the door, and everybody was available, put their pictures there, and like, and I think that was like really the heart and soul a lot of shops. Like, social media, I feel like opened up the door for a lot, but also closed and shut down a lot of things. Like, it's because I remember when Peyton came and I hired him as in the shop, part-time work, and before that, like the kids I had work for me, like they will Quinn, Kyle, Wilds, all these kids, like they kind of grew up with the shop. They start double early outs at high school, working, and then they went to college, and then they were still working at the shop, and it was kind of cool because I understand like these guys spend 6-8 years of your life with you, and
your second home.
And on top of that, they rip, and they like to travel and do things. So that was the main thing, and it was all in the like golden era when like Billabong, Andy was hot, and like we finally was the shop who actually has like Andy's Rising Sun board shorts. I remember it was like 6 different colorways of those, and that trunk was running hot for like 2 years. Like, we had on the wall, we finally had a shoe wall by the door, and like we had the Bam Margera had those Bam Adios, and Costin has his, we finally had like product, and like in my eyes, like, dude, like we were becoming like super legit.
You know what it was? What I saw is there was an era, I was in maybe the 7th or 8th grade, and everybody in Charleston rode a JS. Like, are you a billionaire off of carrying JS? Because I felt like it was like crazy time.
No, because you don't make money of surfboards.
Right.
But
that was such a good grab, because that era was...
And it was super lucky. Like, when I was in the first location, I actually met my really good friend from Wilmington, Mike Connolly. I met him at Bill and Betty's Zoo. Like, I bought my first snowboard here in the US from Bill and Betty Sue, because like I'm here, before I spend 60 days or 80 days out of the year on the mountain. And I'm here, it's like, man, I used to snowboard, and Josh was like, oh yeah, like I would like to learn or whatever. I was like, dude, let's go to North Carolina. So I went to Bill and Betty Sue, bought a used Burton snorkels. Like obviously everything was, I don't think we had the shop yet. That was all on budget still, so bought a used one. And Mike at that time was Burton dealer, and he was dealing with them. So I met him there first time, and then when we opened the shop, he pulls up. He had like a Subaru wagon, and at that time he was repping Dakar and some other brands. And through the industry, we become like a best friends. And down the line, Mike was like, hey, I think I'm gonna be an importer of JS.
Yeah.
And I was like, will you carry them? I was like, dude, like everything what I did with you, we friends, yeah, let's do it, whatever. So they were actually, all the JSs back in the day were landed in Wilmington.
Okay.
So it wasn't like I just took my van, drove up there, loaded up and grabbed them, and like, we didn't mark them up much at all. Usually you make what, $75 to $100 a board. Mm-hmm. That's about it. So, and I think they were like $425 at that time retail.
Yeah.
So, and that was the hot brand at that time, because like everybody who was anybody kind of tried to be, either was on Merrick or JS or Lost. Like right. It's the Lost at that time actually wasn't, I don't think, as hot as the Merrick and JS, and that goes to the thing that got killed also, like DVDs got killed. Mm-hmm. But dude, we live for like, and they knew, like Taylor Steele knew, like if it's gonna be a release, let's do it right before Christmas. And you waited for all these campaign movies to come out, and they actually were coming like with the killer soundtracks and stuff like that. So we started doing like movie premieres prior to that. Just
were those at Wild Wing, right?
Yeah, those as the Wild Wings, and it was like, it was another good way, how everybody gets together, and yeah, it was a lot of partying back in the day when I was young. Yeah, it was, because it's what every young people do. They party and they like to have fun. So like a lot of these Wild Wing premieres were like pretty crazy, and but now like kids don't even have DVD players. But like I still have the crazy collection of DVDs, and like some of the best movies are.
Yeah, I lived on DVDs, It's like, yeah, sad it's gone, but I don't know, I guess it's just...
Yeah, it's a progression like in everything, but I think everything is like... Back then, we lived more in the time, and the time frame was maybe, 6 months or something. You interested in something for longer. Now it's almost like 3 second to minute span, like it's a... And that's what like... The way how you scroll is how you live your life.
Right.
And I feel we live differently. Mm-hmm. Like we were waiting, like they will say like, 2 months prior, the campaign 3 will drop or whatever. And like everybody was waiting. Like I think the last campaign, we probably sold like 300 copies.
Wow, yeah.
Because like everybody wanted to have it, and then you actually do a movie premiere and all that stuff with it, and everybody gets together, and it was good. And a lot of those, that was pretty much the only influence all the guys and kids was getting, like even, it wasn't just surfing. Like I remember when I think what Black Label came out with and it was on the VHS, the video called like Label Kills or something. Mm-hmm. And it was just like mind-blowing how they took it to the next level, like, handrails, stairs, crazy. And like, and the first like really, I think the first really video it took me was the Fletcher's video, Tweak Freaks.
Yeah.
And it was like first time when I actually saw somebody doing air on the surfboard. It wasn't like,
right.
It was not even, nobody at Folly was doing airs. Nobody in the contests were doing airs. People were still doing floaters and roundhouses, like like it's and I think that was the good thing, because like everybody even when they talking, they could relate to it. It's like, oh yeah, remember when Andy was doing the floater and his nose goes, he was doing them almost like board slides. His nose will travel, and like, you know, and the kids will come to shop and like we're talking about it and stuff like that. So it's a little bit different, you know. I think nobody cared about how many followers you have. Everybody was just like, ooh, I want to figure out how to do that.
People were more in it.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like people are more in it. Yeah.
We I think the last premiere I've been to was what was it called? View from a Blue Moon. Yeah. The John. Yeah, and that was at your shop. Yeah, it's just kind of changing.
Yeah, but we actually, and you know, sadly, it's and I'm so grateful we never have any incidents or anything, but like, you know, like you throw the skate contest, somebody gets hurt, you pretty much, I was risking my business for many years all the time because like, I think, I don't know, it was a Cuff's idea or somebody, like, we were doing these parties, they were at midnight. We were calling them the Holler at the Moon parties. It was like every full moon in the month, we will throw this party, and I think
was that Cuff's idea?
I don't know if it was a Cuff's idea or, but somehow it's like, you know, like everybody does the sales and stuff, but like, no, let's do one at the full moon, and it's got to be late, and pretty much like Phil will do carnitas, and pretty much was the late cookout, and drinking and coolers, and we will set up the skate rails and stuff, and I think one time for this one of those full moon party, the Cliche team came in town, so we did that combined with it, and they were like blown away of the turnout and how everything went.
Where would you have it, in the parking lot, or where was
Yeah, well, we had it in the Wildwing parking lot. We had it right next to the new shop, and we moved to the new building. It's but pretty much like the way, I don't even know how we got where we got that far, because like shop was a struggle for pretty much till we moved to the last location. It was always in red. It's like I double mortgaged the house, and it's just never created enough revenue because you tuck in, you know, and I was, you know, I wasn't born here, I wasn't surf here, and took a while, but like, so even like but I guess if you do things and you honest and you stay true to your word, like I was on credit hall like with Dakar, and we were out of traction pads, but the lady because she really liked Mike, and I got to meet her, so we were her East Coast sons. Yeah. So I will call her, I was like, hey mom, like I know I'm like 7,000 behind on invoices, here is the check, I'm mailing the check for 3, but will you release my order? She was like, yeah, no problem. Like, I got it. Yeah. But like, I guess the people always, like even like big shops, I was surprised, like a lot of big chains and stuff, like they abuse the datings, the terms. Like they get net 90 and they will go another 120 past due.
Right, well.
But because they're like super big, people kind of cut them slack with it. But like I always stay with my word, so it's like, hey, I send you this, and I will follow up in 2 weeks with another one. And because I never broke it, a lot of the companies actually helped me out. But like, before we moved to the last location, like I was probably close to 100,000 in debt in invoices. Yeah, we did have product, which was another thing, you know, like as you do business, you learn. So we were doing good, so all the money I had, I turned back into an enlarged inventory, because like if you don't have selection, you're not making sales. And end of the year comes, I doing taxes with my accountant, and she hands me a bill for like $18,000 to pay taxes. I was like, what do you mean? I have like $3,000 in the bank account. It's like, yeah, but you made profit.
You're like, what is that?
You made profit, but you put it into your inventory, so you get in tax on that profit. And I was like, wow. And I was just like, okay. So I drive beat up car. I have no money and nothing. And so I was like, okay. Went straight from her, went to dealership, bought a truck, financed a truck. like a van. So we depreciate some of that. So I was like, I don't have the money. I had to figure it out how to get the IRS bill down so I can stroke a check for it. Yeah. But at that time, we were dead in invoices and things. I was like, you know what, something's got to give, something's got to change. So I borrow, not a 40, I think I borrowed 20 from my brother, and I borrowed 20 from the friend of mine. I took that new location and I spent 2 months remodeling it myself. Just ripped everything out, did it. And then from then it was just, we finally, and obviously it's not just the location. Charleston were growing, like how many people were surfing here in 2000 and how many surfs now, all the shops benefits from it. Right. So so it's not just the location, but and we start finally making it, and we couldn't do it that in the plaza. People drive by us and see us, and then people are coming in and they will live in Old Village. It's like, I didn't know the shop is here. How long you guys been open? It's like since 2000. It was like 2019 at that time, It's like, yeah, we've been around for 19 years and you still didn't know. So, so with all these skate contests we throw and all these movie premieres, we're constantly risking like somebody's gonna get hurt. And
do you have any wild stories that you can share?
It's a lot of wild stories. Yeah, it's a lot of wild stories. I think the wildest stories, and I don't even know if it's like podcast appropriate, when Daniel Blackwell came ask for the job to get hired. I think it was like, we were living at the Old Village at that time, which nobody can probably afford now. But we had a big house. It was me, Radek, and Josh, and it was my 25th birthday. And, at that time, like, Daniel Regan and Dave Dixon and Magenta and Kyle, and like they kind of all ran with us, and there was a shop was already open at then. So they decide to, for my birthday, throw the huge party and buy me a stripper. But first, they brought a guy dressed up as policeman. So police car pulls up and see the cop walking already to the house, so they drive off. So the party didn't get busted, but that was actually the real cops drove away because the guys come in. And story short, about 3 years later, maybe 5 years later, Daniel come ask for the job, and he was like, yeah, I've been surfing at Folly and this and that, all that, and when we came to your birthday party, you handcuffed me to a stripper. I was like, okay, hired. So that's how Daniel got a job, and and at that time was like Daniel was running with Jay Bush, Peyton, and like all that Folly Beach crew.
Yeah, I feel like that crew was like had a lot of good surfers. Do you have any surfers that really stood out to you?
They were all ripping at the time. Like Peyton was like, like I think Peyton was like, and Jay were kind of like underdogs because they were not as loud as Daniel and like Josh Kerr and all these guys, but I think they were still surfing really good. And Busey rode for me for a while. Like I think like for me, like yeah, you have to be ripping, but it's kind of the whole package. Like Charlie Gus and TJ Funsick, all those guys, and then TJ lives in Hawaii. He's going to Chopuk, surfing crazy. Like it's amazing. Davey Blair, like when I met Davey Blair, like it was we were wakeboarding on one of the boats, and I think Davey was like maybe 15 or whatever. I don't even know how old he was, and like he was putting the wakeboard on. It's like, yeah, one day I will make money with the board. I don't know which board he had, but I will make money with the board. I was like, yeah, cool, Davey, whatever. Like 6 years later, he's like pro kiteboarder, going all around the world, making movies with Richard Brownson and stuff like that. So like those are the memories. But like for me, it was like never was just only how hard you rip. Like it's like you gotta be cool, and we has to be some kind of energy between the shop and the person. It's and it was a point like where we pretty much have like team rider in every middle school and high school. But like it's not just having the team rider, like the person was known,
Right.
you know, like, and you know, same with the guys they work at the shop. Even the guys they work at the shop, it's they all were much better surfer than I am. Like, you know, Quinn, Carl Morton, everybody. I guess at that time, like especially around like the 2003 to 2009, like was a lot of the same age kids that were surfing. Like Vlcek brothers, those three brothers, like TJ and Brian, they ran kind of with Gus family and stuff. But we have these guys like Hopkins, and they live at the old village, and they start like their, I don't know, it's like gang or clan or whatever. They call themselves Chosters. Like they never, and they just constantly come in the shop. It's like, yo, look at me, I did Carter Hopkins layback. And I feel like for like 10, 15 years, we had like all these brother groups running around the town, like either on the Folly or, you know, my side of the bridge. And like, you know, I know like FBC was big here on Folly, and like, I don't know who really started. I know it was like involves like Gus's and Gregory's and the Vissi's brothers. They started the BIP, Birds a la Palms posse, and like, and then OV posse, and all that was going on. So like, it's Gus's brother, like Charlie and Jordan, they were, obviously Charlie is the older, they were good. And I remember when Charlie, you know, and Gabe and Davey and they moved to Hawaii, and Jordan went visit them for the first time. Like he was like out of this world, because like those guys were already charging big waves there, and he come back just like it was crazy. And then we had the Gregory's brothers, you know, Andrew and Alex. Those guys were you know, the true OV crew. Like Tronberry was always the craziest one out of all of them. Before that, we had Seckinger, Trenton, and Trevor. Trevor actually ended up working at the shop for a while. When he worked, he was like, we always have TV playing videos, and he's one of the few people, like he will look at that and he can see the wave going. He can like totally digest, like say like, okay, drop in, big bottom turn, floater, speed up section, whatever. Like, and like we end up nicknaming him Moonman, because like his head was always in clouds. Like, so his nickname at shop was Moonman, because like he can just zone out and stare at the TV, and like, or he will like start talking to somebody with the surfboard, and that person would leave not for 2.5 hours. Like just he would just totally like break out everything. And but it was awesome, you know, having it working. And then we have the Past brothers, you know, Bryson and Hartley, and also we have Davis brothers, William and Shep. The one thing with all these, and I don't know how it's with you, all the older ones, older brothers were always the ones, like they were either not charging harder, but like, and I guess was done mainly by age. The older brother was always the better one, except Davis's. Like when William actually started riding for me first, and Shep came probably a year or two later, and William was always, everybody says like, oh, better out of the two, but like I tell you, like Shep turned it around. Like he can give him a run for his money right now. Like he's been, you know, training with Ryan and really focusing on it, and I think he has both. He has an air game and turn game, and I think that's pretty good to see. Yeah, like I said, I'm very fortunate to see all these guys grew up with the shop and see how they improve. But it was only one time, and it was one of the mistakes. For like first 5 year or 4 year of the shop, I wasn't working there. I was only doing weekends because I kept my construction job. Okay. And I had a kid who wasn't as good as a surfer working for me, and just all of a sudden the reputation started going down and things like that. And that was a breaking point for me to give up the construction and give up the surf shop. And I was like, well, it's a big loss. So I gave up construction and I went full on to the shop and started working. So I work at the shop full on probably since 2004 or something like that. And from then on, I had a rule, like, we will have knowledgeable people. It's no way it will, not everybody has to be, but like it will not be a shift where it's not a person who knows how to put the skateboard together or knows something about skateboarding, or the person who can help somebody with a surfboard. Right. It's just, I kind of had that rule from day one, but it's they kind of slip away, and it got to the point that now you go to shops, like half of the employees don't even
they have no idea.
Don't surf. It just becomes so mainstream, and but back at the time, and I think it was a good times much better because there was no surfboard reviews, none of that. Like if people wanted to know something, they will go to shop.
I didn't think about that. That's totally true.
And it's your responsibility to either know yourself or have the staff. Like, you know, when I went and pick up the boards to Florida to see Clay Lyles, who was making TNCs and stuff, like he was one of the first one. I guess the Orion shaping machine was one of the first one, but he has the second one. But he had the first one with the scanning options and all that. And when I went pick up, they were also glassing. So I was like watching how it's glass, and I constantly had questions, like, you know, about like, so I wanted to know how the board's made, like, you know, like why it's 4 ounce, 6 ounce glass, like. And then I started changing the way how my boards were made, because like at the one point, like the boards were coming like fatter light than everybody, but like you guys were going through boards like crazy. Like when the single 4 and double 4 came out, like everybody was like, yeah, the boards are amazing, but like then they served them for 3 weeks. It's like, oh, my board's done. Like, so then I have them doing differently. Like I was like, hey Clay, like I need a board with 6'4" decks, and you know, leave the bottom that it is, or like put the patches, or I have like Wilds. Well, his toes were so, and I've been still doing it for Patrick Evers. They toe grab the rail so hard that they will break the rail eventually where their back foot is, on their toe side, not on the heel side. Wow. And so I will be putting 4 ounce patches on the brand new boards for them before, or I start ordering them if they order custom, be like, hey, let's put a reinforcement there. And it never been like that somebody will come to the shop like now, it's like, oh yeah, I need to have this board because I read this reviews. And yeah, reviews got better, but like at the first time when the reviews start coming out, nobody disclosed their height and weight and the wave condition they surf in. Right. Everybody's like, oh yeah, I got this board and it's like crazy, it does this. And then everybody felt like, okay, if I buy this board, yeah, but the guy was 30 pounds lighter. Yeah. Like, you know, like, yeah, you cannot have a 5'6" and things like that. So, and I think that was really good because people rely on the shop at that time.
What has been your proudest Parrot moment now that you've kind of given, you know, over to new reins? Or
I don't know if you can say that, because like each era of employees and everybody was like pretty awesome. Yeah. You know, like I think like when Charlotte Whitty, she used to ride for me and work at the shop, and she's still like the truly good friend. She got, I think, first or second at a contest in California, like in the Nationals. Yeah. In the women, and I was like, wow. For the chick, you know, out of South Carolina, it was a huge accomplishment, and like she immediately got hooked up by O'Neill and things like that. So all these moments, you know, like when we won the team challenge, that was like, God, our heads got this big, because like the trophy, I think it's still at the shop too, because it kind of, we were the last one. Right. So the trophy finally left this side and went to Mount Pleasant. You know, it's things like that you definitely remember. Like, you know, a lot of trips we took to Puerto Rico before it got like crazy blown up, and I remember like we will like just look on Swell Info. It's like, oh, it's gonna be waves next 3 days, and like you can get a round trip for $245 out of Charleston, and you just went for 3 days. Just fly in there, get a rental cars. And I only did it in the winter because like I never really liked surfing in wetsuits, And so in those 4 days there, I got enough weight. So I will probably get in the whole winter without it freezing the butt off.
Yeah.
So, first time when I went to Puerto Rico, I think that's when Daniel Blackwell and Komar and all those guys went there. James and all these guys, they went there and they lived there for like, they all finished college, and it was like, oh, like we going to PR, and like I went there, visit them first time. It was like, freaking honest, it's amazing, you know. It's
You still go to PR?
I haven't been in PR since the hurricane hit them, so it's a time to probably, you know, go back and check it out. It's I love it there. It's always good surf. It's
Yeah. What are you spending your time doing now?
Actually, it's like I'm more busy or as busy as I'm in the shop. I just like really doing my own thing. I work with a friend of mine. He's a furniture maker and wood craftsman. So doing a lot of stuff with with the hands. Try to travel, spend more time with the family, and things like that. Because it was 24/7 for me with the shop, you know, and I love it. It was 21 years was awesome, but I just kind of like realized like it's a time maybe to take some of me, you know, like getting close to 50, I still want to accomplish some things like travel and stuff. And I think the people looking at retirement's wrong. Everybody, well, it's changed a lot in the last years, but like back in the time, like you finish school, you get a giant house in the brickyard, you work, you have 2 cars, you live all that fake life, and then at 65 you retire and you go enjoy it. But like, you know, a lot of times you retire if you're lucky at 65, and then you're dead in 67. So yeah, so my outlook is like I'm gonna try to enjoy. I might have to get a job, you know, when I'm like 55, 60, but I'm not afraid of it.
Right.
But like I'm gonna take like 10 years like to travel, do a lot of South America and do a lot of Europe and stuff like that, and just try to enjoy it. Like when I say like, hey, I want to hike this mountain, I'm gonna go and hike it. Like when I'm 65, I'm not gonna be hiking it much probably. That was one of the reason. And like all these younger kids, like obviously like, yeah, none of them were married and none of them have like steady jobs and stuff, but like I will have customers like every 3 months they will go somewhere for like 3 weeks or a month. I was like, and they still making it, like they still drive nice Tundra, and like it's like, how are you guys doing it? Like, you know, I have this multi-million-dollar business and I'm not doing it. So I'm trying to figure it out, and yeah, you can kind of make it work if you cut like all the crazy expenses and stuff. And I think this country is also set up to punish you for being successful.
Right.
Because as more jobs you provide, more money you made and you earn, that's more everything costs you. Doesn't matter if it's from taxes, health insurance, and everything else. So I kind of cut a lot of this stuff off. Like my health insurance for me and my wife, when I had a shop, was $1,000 a month. Now I have me and my daughter and my wife on it, and because our household income got lower, it's $600 for 3 people, not for 2. You know, like start driving the older cars because I don't need a tax depreciation. Instead of paying $500-600 in the property taxes, I pay $46.
Right.
You know, and things like that. So, and another thing was like, the goal of the shop was always be very youth driven. You know, I opened it when I was 25. So now I'm 48. Like all my team riders, first team riders, have kids now.
Right.
And I was like, and nobody will tell you in your face like, oh, you old or whatever, like, you know, but like, I feel like I almost not lost the connection, but it was the first time when I started seeing the age gaps. Not relating like, okay, everybody has kids' birthday parties. Well, my kids going to college, you know, like things like that. So I was like, you know, maybe it's time to let it go, because if we want to keep this, be a part of the community and always be the youth shop, you know, maybe I'm getting too old. And when I hired Alex was working at that time. He was one of the managers at Wild Wing, and he was just gonna throw everything here and move to California. It was like 3 weeks before he was gonna do that. I had a meeting with him. It was like, hey, were you thinking about it? Maybe start working at the shop and doing this. And obviously, you know, I cannot pay you what the Wild Wing pay you, but slowly we can work it up. And as you progress, we progress. And at that time, we kind of made an agreement, like if this works out, and if I ever decide to leave, you will have a first chance, you know, to take it.
Right.
Take it. It's and obviously, like, I think there's plenty of people, if I will put it out there and want to sell it, some rich Yankee would bought it for their son and stuff and probably pay me much more money for it. But like, I was like, no, this is not the way how we're gonna go. Like, Alex just figure it out how we will structure this and everything, and then take it over. Let's keep it young, and it's working great because, like, pretty much, like, everybody, he goes to the beach now, they have kids and they still go surf, and kids hanging out, and look at what board riders been doing in the last 3 years. Like, they pretty much, like, it's amazing, because for a while it was a time, I don't know which years was it, but like, we lost a generation or two to Xbox and Call of Duty or stuff. Was a time frame where, like, the junior man or mini hoonies were non-existent division in the contest at all. And I was just like, what happened here? But it wasn't just my shop, it was everybody's shop. Tim didn't have any young kids, and wasn't till like Will Davis and these guys start showing up and being older. But like right now, like the mini hoonies and like junior men and all that, those are the biggest divisions now.
Right.
You know, and it's so awesome to see what it was when you guys growing up and surfing. It actually came back, but it took, you know, generation, you know, 4 to 6 years or whatever, because like it was nobody there.
Yeah, that is interesting, because it seemed like there were so many good surfers, and then I guess you're right, there was like that little moment there was no one surfing, and then it was like, I feel like Bryant was the last generation, and then it took up to Will Davis or McHenry for it to come back.
Yeah, but look how many years is in between.
Yeah,
you know, it's
wild.
So, but it was like kind of like almost like in every sport, I guess, because like, and I don't know, like, I understand, like, all the social media and everything teaches the kids the instant gratification. Like, quite honestly, like, I would even help out kids and stuff, even though like they're not even at that level yet and even close be on the team, because like, it's pretty discouraging. Like right now, if you want to become a surfer or surfboarder or skateboarder, like you watch videos, like what these guys doing, it's the chances you get to that level, like, okay, I got to learn how to do ollie, and the kids, they do these flip tricks and everything. They don't even get a chance to get sponsored because the bar is so high for surfing and skating right now. I might go play lacrosse instead, you know, or something like that. But like, luckily, because like all the rippers having kids now, you guys bringing those kids into it. I think it's that's how that new blood's coming back up, because other than that, like, I don't remember ever, like, even when I came here and like, surf lesson wasn't the thing. You get a surfboard and you go learn by yourself. Skateboarding lessons wasn't no thing. Like, did you got surf lessons or skateboard lessons?
Yeah.
You figure it out, and it's just pretty much become almost in the point, like when all these moms were coming to the shop, it's like, oh, hey, I want to skate lessons for my son. It's like, how are you gonna teach something when the person's got to feel the board, and like, and yeah, people figure it out and make money, and you know, and I think surf camps are great and stuff, but like, I think for a lot of parents, especially on the Mont P side and stuff, was the way how to get babysittings.
Right.
Like, they will put the kids in the surf camps and skate just so mom can go to yoga and can do the thing because the kid is taken care of from A to, you know, I would really like to see the percentage rate of the campers they actually stick with it year over year, and you know, like, and I think we will be surprised how low the number is. You know, it's but it's great. I'm at least
they're being outside.
They're
right?
being outside
like,
and doing things. So I think the surf camps and skate camps are great, but it's not like I ever would brought to any sport. When I used to rock climb, you know, you go buy your harness, you buy your gear, and you start bouldering, and you have friends. They show you how not to die. You know, you know, same thing with surfing and all the other things. So everything involved, but like I would not want to be the 10-year-old kid who wants to learn how to surf and skate now, because like what the level of any sport right now, it doesn't matter if it's hockey or anything, like just you got to be like super talented, or you have to work very, very hard to get there. Speaking
of progressing in something, how did your motocross or your riding like how did that all start? And
I always, since I was a kid, wanted to have a dirt bike. I never had, like, the closest when I was a kid got to the dirt bike was a BMX bike. Mm-hmm. And like I was like jumping and doing crazy things all my childhood. But like my first dirt bike I bought when I was like 36. And I started riding here and stuff. But then one of my really good friends from Czech, he actually went to Argentina and he qualified for the hardest race in the world called Dakar. And I decided with a friend of mine to fly there, watch him start, because it's always big, like, not like Olympic Games where you have all the countries, but it's a big ceremonial podium for the start of it, where every rider gets on the podium, they get introduced, they wave their flag, and so we flew there with a friend of mine to see the start, and the race is usually 12 to 14 days. So I planned a trip on motorcycles through the whole Patagonia. So we flew to Buenos Aires, hung out there 2-3 days with him, watched him go in on the podium. And he gave us as a gift like these VIP passes to go back. And like, it was in this giant square in Buenos Aires. The pink Parliament building was used actually where was the VIP room, and was 65,000 people in that square watching the start of the race. Like everybody come in and like Red Bull had everything catered, and then they had these Red Bull planes flying in the air. And like I'm in there watching all this, and like all these things in time. It's just like, man, like this is insane. Like the energy was like nuts. And I remember calling my wife, be like, hey, like I know it's like, I wasn't like asking permission and stuff, because like my rule in life, it's like you go and do things, you tell your friends and spouses you do it, but you just don't ask permissions, because you leave your door open for no. Yeah. If you say like, hey, you know, I'm gonna go race this weekend, everything good, like it's a better way. So I was like, man, like I wonder if I can ever like try to do this. And like I was like, oh, I will get out of my head. And we ride in the bikes through Patagonia. We flew down to Punta Arenas, got the bikes there. First trip was we went to the ocean side, so penguins, wild penguins. Then we went to El Torres, there's that lake with all these beautiful mountains. Like, and every day as I follow his results, it's the energy is still in me. Yeah. Like I was like, oh, it will let it go when I leave here. So we waited. We saw him in the finish podium. He crossed the line. He got top 20 first year trying it, like huge accomplishment, everything. I flew back home. It was like, it's still in me. So I called Ryan. I was like, Ryan, like I need to start training and doing things. You know, I'm fat and not mobile. And I called him. It's like, hey, I thought it will let me go, but like, you think it's a way, like maybe you can give me a hand and coach me or whatever? He goes like, yeah, I'm going to be training in Greece next month, so just fly here for the week. I bring you extra bike and we see what you made out of. And so we rode. He killed me first day immediately. Like I think we rode like 260 kilometers off-road and just like And I spent all week just training there. At the end of the week, I was like, yeah, dude, like it's no way I can qualify. And it was at a time where you have to like really build up your resume for this race. It's like, no way I can qualify and have a family, shop and all this in the 1 year. It's like impossible. But if you work with me for 2 years and, you know, help me where you race, just bring my bike there and I pay you for support, whatever. And that's how we started working for. So 2 years, like I got to, and it was awesome because I got to go race Morocco. I got to go race Mexico and all the places. And it was 2 years of like building a resume, and then I got accepted. And then it become like, I don't know, it's like the Dakar by itself is such a huge animal. Mm-hmm. And massive challenge.
Can you explain like the 5 things it is for people? Because it's pretty gnarly.
It's so it's 12 or 14 days, and it's off-road racing, and the whole race is pretty much designed to either physically, mentally break you or break your bikes or cars and stuff. Because it's not just the motorcycles; it's motorcycle, quads, cars, side-by-sides, and big trucks. Now,
people died.
I think right now, to this point, I think it's like 69 people they died since this race happening. I had a 2020, which I thought would be my last year I was racing. I had a really good friend of mine died 2 stages before the finish. And I think that it was 2 deaths that year. And it was one of the factory riders died too. So it was a very, very sad year. And but you know, you never think people die surfing, right. Drown. You know, like you see people surfing with helmets more and more in pipe now. I guess it's a reason for it. You know, but the Dakar, it's like such a massive challenge, and in those 2 weeks of the time, it's so grueling, and like the endorphins and dopamine in your body and stuff. Like I remember coming back home from first one, and like for 3 months I couldn't figure it out what to do next. It was just like everything was so minor, you know, to it. I just said, and I was like, oh, I wasn't happy with the way how I finished the first one. So I was like, you know, I gotta go back, like gotta see if I can make the top 50 and things like that. Plus it was motivation for me to stay in shape and do things. I still don't know how I even train and got all that with the shop and working, and how I even pull the money to pay for all it. But I guess if you put your head down and go after it, things happen, you know. I'm sure you guys accomplish crazy things, you know, with not just your surfing careers, but like with your filming careers and stuff. So when you look back, you're just like, oh, how did I accomplish to have all this? But like, if that's only what you really go after, it's pretty easy.
Yeah. What so during that race, when does it catch up with you? Like day 2 or 3, or straight out the gate, it just becomes this mental?
It depends. It's each day it's a challenge when you have to go through racing in South America, because the original race went from Paris to Dakar in Africa, but after a while the Africa becomes super unstable, and some French tourists got killed and stuff, so they moved it to South America. But the problem with South America was you race in the high altitude. Like my first Dakar, we started in Uruguay, and it was also what attracted me to this race. You got to see a whole lot of world. So we started in Uruguay, went to Argentina. From Argentina, we crossed Andes to Bolivia, and back to finish in Argentina. So you go in through countries.
Are you just glued in the whole ride, or are you able to kind of explore and see?
The first 2-3 years, I was probably just glued into paying attention, because it's all off-road, and like you overlook one rock and you're on the ground. But the first year I did it was when we were crossing Andes. So we started, was like 102 degrees, and when we were crossing Andes in the same day, it was snow on the ground on the trail. So like you freezing in your butt, you shivering, because like you don't bring any like.
How long are you riding at one time?
It depends how bad is your day. Like usually you leave around 4 a.m. and you get back between 4 to 8, so about 12 hours, 12 to 16 hours, depends how bad your day is. It's not all of the time it's your race time, but you have transfer, so you have to transfer yourself from where you spend the night, which calls Bivouac, that's where pretty much everybody is, and your support. So you will, for example, like you will go from here to Charlotte on the paved road or in the morning from 4 a.m. till 8 a.m. because the race stage has to start at sunrise. It has to be daylight for you to race. They will not start the stage to. So you do that. Then you race like 300 to 500 kilometers, and then you will go like liaison back about same distance on the paved roads and stuff like that.
What's the most gnarly thing that you've encountered? Like, did you ever have a bad situation?
Putting people in the helicopters, because like we have the tracking system, and if you run up to somebody who's hurt, you have to hit your button, call it in, and try to make sure they breathe and they not so you don't have to start CPR and things like that. Yeah, those are the bad things, but like it's much more good things come out of it, the camaraderie and the way how you find out that you can push yourself. Like one of my moments, I got stuck in the sand dunes. I think we were like in 9,000 feet. It was these huge soft sand dunes, and the bike got stuck there, and I couldn't get it out, and you're out of breath, and like you literally like start seeing white, and it's just like, oh, so I just stopped for a second. I was like, this is not it. I'm not hitting that button. Come rescue me. Forget it. Like I will push it, and like to teach yourself push through things, because 15 kilometers later, it's gonna be better, and you learn so much about your body. Like I think one day I finished this stage, and I finished at dark because it was super long and harsh. I was like exhausted. Like when I got off the bike, I was shaking off exhaustion. Like I literally gave every ounce what I had, and you just go straight to get food, recovery, drink, all that, try to get back together because you got to mark your road book for next day, yada, yada, yada. And you try to go to sleep. And I find out in 6 hours, your body recovers and sleep like no other. Like it was mind blowing. Like I felt like it's no way I can start next day. Like it's like I'm this exhausted. And that next day I was able to get on the bike and go again. So it's, and I think it's like the same thing with all the people, they climbing Mount Everest and any kind of thing you can push yourself further and further. Look at how long people can hold their breath underwater now. Yeah. Like you guys pushing yourself, all the free diving and stuff, like it's crazy, and it's all, a lot of it is, I think, mind driven and heart driven. Like my success is not because I'm a great motorcycle rider. I think I'm because you have a big heart. I have a big heart, and I just like gave up.
Yeah. So how did you get out of that sand?
Just eventually like dig the bike out, push it, and like just took a little breather, and then and go back.
Off you go.
Yeah, it's like, and sometimes you help people, and I remember like it was my first Dakar, my friend yelled at me because like you meet when you race around the world, a lot of these guys you will end up there. My friend Carlos Garcia from Mexico, I met him racing in Mexico, and the second day at the Dakar, it was this huge water fields and puddles, and he got stuck in one of those mud puddles and flooded his bike. So I stopped, used the tow strap, helped him yank him out, and obviously I wasted 30 minutes of my time, and I left him my tow strap because his tow strap was already broken. I got back, and I told my buddy Andre what I did. He was like, "Are you crazy? Why are you wasting time helping people? You're not the Salvation Army, yada yada yada." It's like, dude, he's my friend, and it's a karma, like, and the things, turn around, and then, when you need help, people are usually there, it's, that thing is a huge camaraderie too, you know. And even the guys, they factory riders and stuff, they will still stop and talk to you and things like that. Like it's and that was the thing for me. Like when I raced my first one, like I'm nobody rider on motorcycle, but like obviously when you get to that race, South America, any kind of motorsports is huge. And like people know because you qualify for the race, obviously they think you good and great, and like, and you waiting to go on the podium, and people hand you babies to take the pictures, like photo and this, and I was like, wow. And like my wife got to experience the second year I raced, because she flew there and she actually rode on the back of my motorcycle to the finish podium and all that. But like the kids kind of never really got it. So the third year I made a deal with the kids. So it's like, okay, we're gonna do small Christmas. Each of you gonna get like 3 presents each. But we're gonna, the day after Christmas, we're gonna fly to Peru. That year the Dakar was only in Peru. We're gonna go early. We will see Lima. We will go to Machu Picchu. And then you will see start of the Dakar, and then you will fly home. So Caroline first was like, what? I'm not gonna get on my... Ramesh was like, immediately like, because he's older. Yeah, Machu Picchu. Yeah. So, and that was the most incredible thing. So we flew there, we do Machu Picchu, all that. And they were there with me as I was walking to the bike and go over the podium, and they were waiting after podium, and like, and the kids got to witness it. And it was like, at that time it was like only in Peru, so it was like a little small. It was 40,000 people there, but like all the cliffs were lined up with people, and like, and Caroline was walking with me carrying my helmet, and like people was like, oh, here's my daughter too, take the picture, like, you know, like they wanted to take picture with her and stuff. And like I think that was the first time when they realized, okay, Angelo's maybe a little bit badass because he raced. But before that, they didn't have, they didn't care much, you know. But like, cool. I guess it will be like if you can earn and pay your entry to Pipe Masters, you will do it in a heartbeat, you know. But like, but even thought you will maybe get put out first or second round, to be in there to those people, you legend, and then you will do it. So. That's kind of how Dakar was for me, you know. I had a chance to try it, and but you know, I did it 5 of them, and that's it.
Yeah. What did you have? Did you meet your goals with that?
Yeah, like we had an agreement with a friend of mine. It's so you can race it and you can have your own mechanic and support, and then it's another category where you sleep in the tent. They move your tent for you, but you have to be your own mechanic too. So you race all day. You come in exhausted, you gotta change your wheels, tires, service the whole bike, you go sleep the tent. So we had an agreement, if we're gonna stop racing, we will race the Malay Moto category. And even like the factory riders, they walk into Malay Moto, just come look like how we wrenching and dirty with oil and not sleep, and they all think we crazy. Like you ask Toby Price, he goes like, no, I will never race Malay Moto. You guys are lunatics. So I did that in 2020, and last year when I went race, I always race you have to race for the country your passport's issued. Okay. And at that time I didn't have even fought the first year, because most of the support came here locally, like from my friend Jason and Shipyard, Max One, Red Drum, all these people. Locally, I wanted to race with American flag, and they denied me. Over the time, I actually got my citizenship and everything. So last year, I find out it's a group of 5 Americans. They try to. It never was American who finished Dakar in Malay Moto category. Oh wow! So they make pack of 5 friends who all will try. I was like, well, damn. And they pretty much like said like, yeah, you live in America, we know about you, but you didn't have American flag next to your name in 2020 when I raced it, and I finished, I think 38 or 36, like really good. It doesn't count because you had a Czech flag. I was like, well, damn, time to go back. Like if I have a chance to be first American, let's do it. So I got everything together. When I accomplished to finish. I didn't get the result I wanted overall because I had a bad crash day 3. So rest of the 11 days I was just suffering. But I accomplished to be one of the first Americans. So it was 6 of us Americans who started. Only 2 of us finished.
Wow.
So it was. So actually now I'm in the Wikipedia as one of the first Americans.
Oh, that's cool. That's epic.
which is awesome. Yeah. Like you still get smoked by all the other guys because the factory guys are so much faster and everything, but little accomplishment.
Yeah, that's huge. I did read before, like 50% of people don't even finish it or something like that.
Yeah, it's a
big number.
It's a pretty bad success rate. I think it's a little bit more than that. I think it's like between 60 to 70. Okay. It depends on what year.
Right. Conditions and stuff.
And conditions and how they make the route. But yeah, the success rate is not great.
Yeah. And then I feel like Charleston really enjoyed backing you. Did you feel that energy coming, or how was that?
Yeah, like even Charleston been awesome for me. So it's pretty much my home. I spend right now I spend more time in Charleston than I spent in my hometown when I got born. So my family's here. So I consider Charleston home, and then obviously through the years and through all the people I met through the shop and stuff, I'm fortunate. I think people actually consider me hey, being from Charleston, and they back me up a huge time. The first, it was awesome coming from the first Dakar. They throw this huge party at Parrot, and the door on my van opened, and Davey Blair just hosed me with champagne, just it wasn't another ounce of dry stuff on me. It was pretty awesome. So yeah, I'm very fortunate, and I'm grateful for all the backing from all the businesses and stuff, because that's what pushes you forward in anything what you do. I think knowing you have people behind you and you don't want to let them down. And I think that's why people compete in Olympic Games, because they want to represent their country. They want to, obviously you want to achieve your personal goals, but you also want to put the people that behind you on the map too.
Yeah.
And that goes back down to whoever was representing Parrot had to be, we had you cannot have bad grades. Right. Just to help the parents to get kids motivated with school, if you have C's and D's,
you're off.
You on a little suspension, because I think it's chances for you will become a pro surfer are very low.
Right.
I think you have a higher chance to finish Dakar. But so I always wanted the kids to to do good at school and stuff like that. So
kind of covered it all within it. I guess what are your thoughts on Charleston after this explosion of people moving here? It's I think everyone kind of talks about that,
It's just, it's two sides to every coin.
Right.
Well, would your business be as successful if it's that many less people living here? Right. So obviously Charleston's going through huge growing pains. And it's only how the true local people are going to deal with it in my eyes. But, look how many surf camps we have now, and they all full. Right. So it provides livelihood for multiple people. It's look how good all the shops doing. Look how many restaurants we have. So it sucks when you sit on the Folly Road forever to get somewhere, but on the opposite, when I moved to Charleston, I couldn't figure it out what people do for a living here. for either was a doctor, lawyer, or not, because it was nothing here. It was no Bosch, no Boeing, no Volvo, was no really jobs here. Right. So you either work construction, or you own a car lot, or you're a lawyer, or you're a doctor. Other than that, I didn't know anybody who do anything else. So by bringing all that here, you bring more people, you bring more jobs, like ports and everything. And that's gonna result to traffic and overpopulation and you know, beach being crowded and packed. So it's yeah, do I like it? No, I don't like to sit in traffic and stuff like that. So I'm actually moving to Ondo to be a little bit away from it. But I'm at that time. But like I think for like a younger people and families, I think it's better because it's more schools, better schools, more daycares. Like it's I think it's just growing pains.
Right.
You know, like everybody was always saying like, oh, COVID, bad, everything about COVID sucks. Quite honestly, like the COVID has another good side in my eyes. People discover outdoors again because like they start doing things like bicycle sales were up tremendously. Everybody wanted to surf, paddleboard, kayak. People did, and people actually start doing things as a families again. Mm-hmm. Like before that, I didn't see through my neighborhood people riding bikes together or walking or doing things at all because dad works out of town, mom's too busy with everything, whatever. Now, nobody was able to go nowhere. Right. Nobody was able to travel for vacation. So people were, okay, let's go camping together. So I actually think that COVID in that aspect brought a lot of things back together and was good because the kids were forced to be outside. I don't know what's wrong with these younger generations. I think they all want to be albino and hate want to be outside. But like, you know, it's like, it's just mind blowing, and that's kind of forced them to do things, you know, and it's, so I don't think all that was bad. And I think it got us appreciated, like now when we can travel again and stuff, people are actually, oh, I know how it is when they take it away for you. So you actually, a lot of stuff what we were taking for granted, it show us, oh, it can be taken away. Right. And we didn't like it. So now, you know, I'm like, even when I'm flying now and stuff, like, yeah, planes delay, whatever, sucks. But like, I remember time when I couldn't even fly, you know, so right, yeah. So I take it much easier. Okay, and what else I can do? I cannot change it. Yeah, so true. The moment you start having places like Top Golf and things like that, it's mean it can support it. Yeah, that's true. And when you guys grew up and when I started my business here and stuff, it wasn't. Yeah, it was community, it was a lot of people, but it wasn't enough to support everything. Yeah, it's a small town. It was very small town, yeah. You know, and like, and now everybody talks about wave pools and stuff. Like, you know, if we ever gonna like Myrtle Beach and stuff, if they get a wave pool, that's because they have enough people. Mm-hmm. Always look in the more positive side. Right. I think that everybody now is just trying to look too much negative. Mm-hmm.
I feel like you don't have to get old. You can just, you know, fitness is super important, and that's kind of how we really got to know each other. So tell me about that journey and with competing and, you know.
Well, for me, because like, you know, I was just full on just stuck in the work mode. So you don't do much for yourself. But when you're young, you get away with it. Obviously, you mobile enough and stuff. But as people getting older, and with me going to racing, I think I've been going to Ryan for like 5 years, maybe even more, probably more. I started going to Ryan Becknell with Premier Fitness, and he just like find out like my mobility, it's absolutely off. Like my hips wouldn't hinge. That's why I had the back problems and all this stuff. So we just not focus. We first had to focus on getting me moving before getting better. And for me, it's to go there is just before we working only one-on-one, and recently he started doing in the last few years doing the group session, and I actually enjoy the group session. I think it's the best thing because you have another 2, 3, 4 people, and you push yourself because like somebody picks up this kettlebell, it's like, whoa, okay, yeah. I guess I'm the weak one, yeah. You know, and you want to try it more, and it's been great, and I got to see like not just me transform myself, but like other people, like everybody like you and everybody who's going to like Shep Davis going there right now has been coming for a year, and like he pretty much turned to the next level. Like he's total beast mode, and now watching his videos and his surf pictures, like it shows.
Yeah.
Meanie's been going for a long time. Transformation of Meanie was insane. So, and it's good to see people, you know, like I'm 48 and I actually feel really good. And I think it's important, and we take it for granted, our body. And Ryan's really good. It's how we approach things is like, this gym is not like your meathead, you know, you don't pick them up and put them down. You know, it's all based on mobility. He's got a crazy input on, you know, food intake and how good food to eat. And I serve, but more I train for riding motorcycles because it's like one of the most demanding sports. You know, and he has people, they do soccer, hockey, and yeah, he treats people as athletes because you want to perform, and he is an athlete. And he see the difference, like when he goes on his surf trips, he see the difference. Okay, yeah, I do 15, 20 waves, or I do 5, you know, it's, and I think it happened kind of with all the sports. Like back in the day, everybody was partying and go surf Pipe Masters hungover. Kelly Slater changed all that. Right. Be like, no, and then all these workout videos came out, like, you know, it's, gosh, who's that? He was riding for Rip Curl.
Taylor Knox.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like when you saw him, like, oh, the Hawk entered the building, you know, like, but then you watch him surfing and like, it's so powerful. Like, and now if you don't train at least 5 days a week, you're not on tour. Right. You know, it's not happening. It's in like in every sport. Like, and I kind of, when Mary Claire, you know, was riding for shop and skating heavily, and like she was actually a really, really good skater chick coming out from here, you know. Yeah, it's all good when you're 10, 12, but when you start turning to the teenage and your body weights more and you asking more from your body, you have to replenish it. Like, and Ryan has really good output on it. Like, yeah, you have some bang, but and with me racing Dakar, like on average day, if I have a bad day, it's even more. But if I have a average day in the Dakar, in the day, you burn between 8 to 12,000 calories. Yeah. It's no way you can replenish that. Yeah. But it's same thing when you go surfing or you skating. Plus, you know, and even with my daughter, I have that problem. She's a gymnast, and she doesn't grow muscle and recovers fast enough because from the moment she wakes up, she burns more calories by the time when she goes to bed and she puts in. Right. And I think Ryan has pinpointed for every one of us, like, hey, you know, you need to do this and this and this. And I think all these athletes realize that too. It's, you know, it's not just that. And obviously, what do you put it in? Don't put in the, you know, crap, like, you know, processed meat, all this stuff, and that doesn't give you back whatever, you know. It's the reason why everybody likes Hurriali, because they go there and they know it's good food, but also it's a healthy food. Yeah, it's and I try it, you know, like I haven't been in the big fast food for a long time, but like try to be healthy. It's probably the most expensive hobby.
Yeah, it really is.
You know, it's but you know, you have only one body, and I have like big arthritis in my hands and stuff, and I start seeing it. So, you know, it's like, oh, you gotta preserve it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's modern medicine has fixed for a lot of it, but it's not for everything. So it's up to you.
Do you drink?
I used to drink a lot, but like I don't drink much anymore. Yeah. No, it's my body stopped liking it around like me turning 39, 40. Mm-hmm. So I can probably count on both my hands in a year how many times I drink. Yeah. But if I drink, I go all out, because the way how my body reacts now to a drink is no different between 3 cocktails or 12. Right. I feel equally bad the next day. Yeah. So you're just gonna send it. So if it's on, it's on. Yeah.
One of the questions we had: how many real life parrots?
Oh yeah.
Like that is
so we had 2. I have one now at home. It's not the original one. The first one
They live forever, right?
Yes,
Like,
they
yeah.
live. So first we had I don't know, it was parakeet or whatever. We had it in the old shop where Pure Vida was, and I don't know how it happened, but flew away. And then I adopt one, and his name was Rick James. Obviously, you know who named him, Peyton, and immediately was like, it's gonna be, and that was the one that was in the shop. But when we moved the locations, he was not allowed because he was getting louder and louder, and like I couldn't even be on the phone and stuff. And funny thing is, that bird absolutely hated me. I don't know if it was facial hair or whatever. Like I will go and I clean his cage, I feed him, whatever. I go pick him up, he will like take chunks out of me. Jay Bush comes in, best friends.
Yeah.
He can grab him, pick him up upside down, tickle his belly, everything. But like with me, so, and
Does Rick James still live with you?
no.
Oh, okay.
I got another parrot I got from a friend of mine who was big time help with my motorcycle racing and stuff. And when his dad passed away, he had a blue hair Amazon, and he goes like, well, where the parrot's gonna go? Well, goes the parrot.
Right.
So he called me up and was like, hey, I got a parrot for you. Her name's Lucia, and I guess because it's a female and Rick James was the male, the females are more prone like men.
Yeah.
Because she hated my wife for longest time. Like took my wife, and I give her mad props for a year. She didn't give up. She was like, hey Lucia, whatever, here's your food, come step up. Got bitten, this, but now they besties. But it took her a year to break the bird. With me, I can come up, pick it up, no problem. So in my life, I have 3 parrots so far.
Okay. You think you'll have another?
They live forever, so no.
So, no.
Yeah.
You're good.
Is there anything interesting with the Wolfey Racing name, or is that how did that come about? Your name.
Well, my friend's daughter, Mike's daughter, the one that I met through industry, she gave me a nickname Wolfey for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I always, and my last name in Czech means small wolf.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's not really a small wolf, it's a wolf and it's a Vlcek. And Vlcek as an animal, it's like, it's bigger than fox and smaller than wolf. So it wants to be in the wolf family, but it's not. Mm-hmm. So when I was like, because like everybody when he gets into racing, they have something, you know, usually a lot of people use last name, like Skylar House Racing, but like my last name, like people can't even say it.
Right.
So it's like, no, I can't name my race team that. So it's like, hey, let's be Wolfey Racing. I want to have a logo with the wolf.
Yeah.
And that's another good part, you know, like a lot of the logos and even like the art, it came through guys locally, like Scott Sundin. He did the Indian Crest logo. Like, I always have a vision what I want, but I'm artistically absolutely no good.
Yeah.
So I will spit it out to people what I want, and then they give me. So I was like, I want a skeleton Indian crest, like, because I always like Indians. You know, it's a part of history, and they live together with nature and stuff. Like, I think they had it figured out. So he did an Indian crest. Then he did my Wolfey Racing logo. And then, you know, now Chris Sizemore, you know, he did a lot of the new logo. Like, I was like, dude, like, he did a Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And he sent it to me, and he goes like, yo, what do you think about it? And I was like, man, freaking weird. And then I showed it to a lot of younger kids, and they were like all about it.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was like, you know, like if we're on a fast food kick, you know, like, Chris, I want a Bojangles.
Yeah.
The famous biscuit,
Right.
you know, and I sent him that, and he came up with this. So like, you know, a lot of the logos.
What iteration is this? Is this the
This is the first one.
first one? Cool.
Yeah, the second logo is because unsupported class called Malemoto. I was like, dude, if I go in Malemoto, I'm going mullet Malemoto. So I cut the sickest mullet before Dakar. Like my wife, when I got home, she was like, we're not having sex for weeks. Immediately, but like, it was like, you know, I thought it was be my last Dakar, and like, dude, the amount of interviews I had to do and all that, and like, and with my mechanic, I had a bet, like when you go on the starting podium and they interview you, he goes like, I dare you flick your mullet before you drive off. So I just like finish the interview and just go like, and Ryan had a heyday because Ryan's obsessed with mullets. So it was a lot of good. And the funniest thing at that time, Toby Price, who's like absolute legend from Australia and motorsports and everything, he started losing hair, so he always has a mullet. And he actually has it on the back of a helmet, mullet power and things like that. So I'm at Dakar and it's like on the rest day. And this guy all dressed up as KTM comes in like, hey, I'm, you know, from KTM. Like, Toby Price asked if you would come to the KTM to take a picture with him. Because you have the sickest mullet ever. And I was like, and it was like the highlight, like freaking, everybody asks Toby to take pictures. Like, you know, like Toby's like a god. It's like, hey, go send a jabroni to get Wolfey to get a picture. I was like amazing. Like I ended up. So. Do
you have that photo?
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah, that's it's like two mullets. Like we have two photos together, and like, so that's why the second logo we got rid of the helmet and Scotty drove with the mullet.
So now, what are you hoping for? You know, the community of Parrot, Charleston. What's kind of your thoughts?
I still obviously wear Parrot and stop by there, see the guys and Alex, and so far he's doing a killer job. And I just think, you know, like obviously change is necessary, but I just hope that the change will always be towards better. Mm-hmm. And so far they're doing a killer job, and I think they keep doing what they're doing and just have more kids. Like if we have board riders, Parrot, McKevlin's, Ocean, all these guys, grow into generations, we will have more skate parks, more places to do. Obviously, we can have more oceans, but eventually, maybe we can have a wave pool one day or whatever. So, I just hope everything will go as good as it's been, or maybe go more to like grassroots. Yeah. And it's and I think it's getting even the bigger companies start realizing it. Like when the Nike got in the industry, everybody will start taking that Nike approach. Like before, like all the companies wanted to have a local riders. Like, even in your days, you were a local rider for Rip Curl and whatever. Like, and each shop had their local ambassadors. And I think it's important because not everybody is going to be a Julian Wilson who can have a SB sticker on the nose, but it's more to it from the roots to come up. And I think they realize it. And I think the surf leagues hopefully will change the format somehow too. And it needs to be more engaging with community and people, everything. So I think everybody's doing a really good job. And I think the sport, and I never really considered surfing a sport till it went super mainstream. But all the sports and everything is going to be as good as the new generations coming up. And and the way how everybody's doing everything with the contest now and way how they bring people to it, I'm pretty stoked. Like we have a ton of new people skating, ton of new people surfing, and if they keep doing that, I think it's no worries about the like culture in here. It's all based on us as a parents and kids, how you teach the new generations. Like I remember like when Richard was like start shaping his first boards and stuff. It was like hot commodity get a grasshopper, and he kind of keeps still doing it so many years later, and it's and seeing like the footage when they went to Mexico and stuff, like it's something to say to it, you know, seeing like people ripping dead hard on the local products, something you may like. Look at Malcolm and all the other guys, you know. It's so I think it's still here, and it's good because back in your days it was like Todd Youngblood Quest and like Peyton was on Quest forever. I don't know how many quests you have and stuff. So seeing that still being here, I think it's a good sign of it. It will not change.
Like grassroots.
Yeah.
Like you were saying.
I think the grassroots are important. It's not necessary. And I, you know, like I had so many people on, not so many, but like I had guys on my team. They were not required to do contests because it wasn't their mentality. Like Gabe Cafaro, he was always really good surfer, but like it's no way. I was like, no, dude, you rip, you surf, you get a hookup, you know, too. It's not, and I think when people realize that, it's a lot of good surfers out there, they should get a similar support, but it's not everybody can put it in the contest, in the 15 minutes heat, you know, and
that's okay.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think the Alex understand it. I think board riders understand that, and I think a lot of people here in community understand that. I think that's a first step to keeping the grassroots the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, thanks so much for hanging and chatting with us. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Like I said, I wasn't expecting a phone call that early, but I'm super stoked to be here. And if I forgot to mention anybody and stuff, please don't be mad because it was 21 years of my life.
Yeah,
so hopefully nobody will get butthurt from it.